help. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dewi Robert from the Business Support Team in Swansea Council, and welcome to this Business Swansea Enterprise Club session on marketing tips for startups. With that being said, let's make a start as we have a lot to cover. So Jenny, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dewi. So my name's Jenny Harding, and I'm from ReThink PR and Marketing. So I'll just tell you a little bit about ReThink. So we are a Swansea-based full-service PR and marketing agency. So that means that we work with lots of different businesses of all sizes and in lots of different sectors to handle their marketing and PR. So sometimes we might handle just one small element of the marketing mix. So we might just do social media for a client, or it might be that we manage the entire marketing budget for a client, and we very much become a sort of extension of their team. So some of the current clients that we work with are JCP solicitors, storage giant. We work with Frontier Medical Group, and we do quite a lot of work with Swansea University. But like I said, we work with companies who are very much maybe in their first initial stages of bringing their product or their service to market, right through to very well established businesses and public sector organisations. So just going to move my slide along. So just a little bit about myself. So I've been working in communications for the last 18 years. I've worked in PR and marketing agencies my whole career. So I've worked in Bristol and in Cardiff and in Swansea, and I have seen an awful lot of changes within that time in the sector. So emerging technologies and just the way in which we use different marketing and PR tactics has changed. So when I first started working, social media wasn't really even used by brands particularly, but the principles of good communications remain, and that's basically connecting brands with their audiences and sort of persuading them to take an action. So I've based this session on the understanding that most people within this Teams call have an idea of a product or service that they want to bring to market, or they are in the process of setting up a business, or perhaps in that first stage of starting their startup. So I'm going to give a kind of overview as to what you need to think about from a marketing perspective, what you need to think of to get your marketing going, really. So I will go straight into it. So first and foremost, it's really important to establish who your audience is. So this will really help you to be more targeted when it comes to your marketing, particularly when you're starting out and perhaps when your budgets are quite small and you're trying to make that marketing budget go a really long way. You need to be as targeted as possible. So have a think about who your audience is. Do you have more than one audience group or subset? So for example, are you selling just to businesses? Are you selling directly to consumers, or are you selling to both? Do you have different sides to your business? Then have a think about what the attributes are of those audiences and those subsets. So can you try and start building a persona around who your audience groups are? So have a think about maybe 5 different types of personas that might be your target audience, and find out kind of what resonates with them, because that's going to really help you to be more targeted. So by that, I mean, try and establish what their age is, what their socioeconomic group is, If you're selling direct to businesses, what is that person's job title? What are their goals? What are their needs? What are their fears? And by digging that deep and kind of going that far into your personas, you'll really start to be able to work out who they are, and also where they then dwell, so that you can target them directly. So, for example, are your customers likely to be making purchases on TikTok? Are they a kind of slightly younger audience who only sort of really respond to social media? Or are they perhaps a slightly older group who maybe use Facebook more regularly and would definitely be influenced to take an action or buy a product through something that they've seen on Facebook? It might be that your audience are not digitally minded at all, and that you need to think of more traditional marketing techniques rather than digital marketing to target them. So once you've kind of tried to have a think about where they might dwell, and there's a lot of sort of information online about the demographics of the users of lots of these different social media platforms. So every year, Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok will release their audience demographic data, so you know the kind of age and gender split of their users. So that will allow you to align where you're wanting to put most of your efforts into. So what kind of content would your audience like to see then, once you've kind of established where they are? Is this sort of written content in the form of kind of brochures or flyers? Is it video content? Do they like to consume their media in kind of short video snippets? Or is it photography? Is it something sort of more interactive, where you're asking somebody to respond to a poll or something like that? There's lots of different types of content that your different audience subsets would like to see. So once you've sort of had an idea about where you feel that your audience is, I would recommend taking a look at your competitors and seeing what they're doing. So whatever your business idea is, whether it's completely unique and you don't feel like you necessarily have many competitors, it's always good to have a look at maybe other startups and see how they have done things, who's following them, and how are they pitching their products, and who are they pitching their products to. And really the sort of length and breadth of your research, you could do days and days worth of research on your competitors and on your audience and things. I would recommend that it becomes an ongoing process and not just something that you do at the very beginning, because once you sort of establish yourself, you will learn exactly who your audience is and how you can refine some of this research a bit more. Okay, so once you feel that you know who you're targeting, it's time to create a marketing strategy effectively. So put simply, this is a plan of how you're going to reach your target audience, when and by what means. So what tactics are you going to use? So at the outset, we would recommend setting some measurable objectives and goals. That's a real pillar of any marketing strategy. So you can go back and measure your success against your activity, set a budget, and also define how you will measure success at each step of the way. So are you looking to solely measure conversions if you're asking somebody to buy a product from your website. Or if your product is more of a service that maybe somebody isn't going to be able to buy instantly, you could measure website visitors or followers to your page as one of your success metrics. At the outset of any new business startup, you'll need to establish your look and your brand tone of voice and brand personality. And it's really important to try and keep that as consistent as possible, because this will help you to stand out and allow your audiences to recognize you. So I'm sure we can all think of brands with big personalities. For example, like Greg's Bakery has a really strong brand and brand personality. It's very cheeky, it's very funny, it's very kind of reactive to what's going on in the world. Similarly, Innocent Smoothies has a really strong brand. Again, they use the same tone of voice in all of their output, so you can instantly tell that, oh, that's from Innocent Smoothies. So once you've discovered what your brand tone of voice and brand personality is, you'll need to work out exactly what it is that you're wanting your audiences to know about your brand. So we would describe this as key messages. So keep your messaging as simple as possible. So people really need kind of bite-sized amount of information. So, the way that social media works and how we're all becoming more conditioned to consuming our media, it's very much in bite-sized form. It's short videos, it's bullet points, it's short and snappy. Our attention spans are getting much shorter, so you really need to grab your audience quickly and reel them in. A lot of research has been done into how long you've got to capture someone's attention on social media, and the general consensus is that it's around 3 seconds before people will sort of scroll on to the next thing. So you've got to be really impactful and really making sure that you're in front of the right audience and that you're speaking to them in the right way so that they will stop and take some notice of your brand. So as a bit of a guide, when you're establishing your key messaging, you should consider the following really. So what is your product and service? So give a descriptor of what you are and what you're all about. What problem or issue or need are you trying to resolve? So what is your product or service the answer to? What problem is it resolving? Why should people buy from you over other similar businesses? And always include a call to action in all of your communication. So as a CTA, as it says on the slide there. So a call to action is what do you want that person to do? Now that you've got their attention, what do you want them to do next? That's the call to action. So is it buy now, read more, email us, call us, or visit our website? Are all kind of typical calls to action, but make sure that you're always giving your audience the next action that they need to take, so that it's very streamlined and people know exactly where to go if they need more information. So now I'm going to talk through some tactics to consider as part of your marketing strategy. So once you've built your strategy, you need to work out exactly how, by what means you're going to communicate with your audience. So you've got your tone of voice, you've got your key messages, you know what you want to say, how are you going to get it out there? So building your online presence is crucial. So building a simple website will help to raise awareness of your brand, drive sales and build trust from your audiences. So in terms of building a website, Wix and WordPress are really good places to start. They provide lots of templates for you to choose from, and because they're very well known, very well used platforms. There are a lot of YouTube tutorials to guide you through how to build these sites and how to really get them looking good. Then when writing your website, writing the copy for your website, we would always recommend doing some keyword research to give you the best chances of improving your search engine optimization, your SEO, before you even launch your website. So you can use free tools like Google Keyword Planner, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about at the end, to help with this. And then make sure that you are packing your website full of keywords and long tail keywords, so short phrases that are basically the phrases and the words that people are using when they are trying to find a product or service like yours. All of those words need to appear on your website in order for Google to start directing your potential audiences there. So once you've got your website sorted, set up social media channels on the relevant platforms for your audiences and start planning your content. Content marketing is a really useful tool for creating awareness around your product and service. Create appealing content for your audiences, but make sure that each piece of content works as hard as possible for you. So, for example, if you were setting up an accountancy practice and you were creating a social media post around the budget announcement from the Chancellor, could you turn that either social media graphic, could you turn that into a blog post as well? Could you sort of make it a longer form piece of writing that you could then put on your website? Could you film yourself talking about your reaction to the budget and make that into a reel to go onto your Instagram? This is more about kind of awareness raising than driving sales as such, which can be done more explicitly through advertising. But content marketing is a really useful tool. Just if you are pressed for time and marketing isn't your main priority, you need to make sure that your content is working as hard as possible for you. Then influencer marketing is another popular tactic being used by marketers across the globe. So you probably are all aware of what influencer marketing is. I will just give a little overview. It's where you work with people who have a large following or a very engaged audience in the area that you're trying to target, and basically work with them to disseminate your information and to share your content, or asking them to create their own content around your product or service. So there's a huge sliding scale of working with well-known personalities and celebrities through to targeting micro-influencers, so influencers that have an engaged following. So by engaged following, I mean people are constantly liking and sharing their content. They might not have as many followers, but more of their followers are sharing and commenting and really reading their content. So micro influencers might have less than 10,000 followers, but they could have a great affinity with your audience group. So it's always worthwhile considering who those influencers might be and how you could work together. So micro influencers sometimes may work with you on a basis where they receive your product and service for free in exchange for them posting about your product or service. Whereas larger personalities, well-known personalities and celebrities would also want a payment for you accessing their audience effectively. Then another tactic is paid digital advertising. So it's a great option for raising awareness and also narrowing down your audience. If you're not entirely sure who your audience is, it could be worth creating a general, broad, appealing advertising campaign to run on social media for a month or so, and establishing the trends in who interacts with that ad the most. Paid advertising on digital platforms can also be really low cost. So you effectively decide the budget and the duration of how long that ad will run. And you can also set very specific objectives for that ad. So you could choose between awareness campaigns or campaigns that specifically drive traffic to your website, or campaigns that specifically generate leads and sales. There's a lot of different options, particularly on Meta, for you to do these really, by Meta, I mean Facebook and Instagram, for you to do these really targeted campaigns. LinkedIn then has its own different ways of how you can target your audience, but you're still choosing the budget and the duration of those campaigns. Then SEO is another key part of the mix, and although it can seem like a bit of a daunting task to someone sort of starting out on this journey who might not be an SEO expert, there are some really easy ways to keep on top of your SEO, which include, as I said before, the packing your website full of keywords that are the words that your audience is searching for when they're trying to find a business or a service like yours. Update the content on your website regularly. So if you're able to add a regular blog or a news section, for example, onto your website, that would be a really good way of giving you an outlet to add content to your website all the time. Ensure that the back end of your website is fully optimized. So, for example, using meta tags, which are basically sort of page descriptions in the back end of your website that allow Google to see that you are what you say you are. And also gaining referrals from other websites. So getting others to link from their websites back to your websites. Okay, so evaluation and learning then is really important, because when you're starting out, you will need to pivot and change direction as and when you can see what's really working for you. So a great learning technique is to encourage reviews. So reviews create trust in a brand and are regarded highly by Google. If you're encouraging people to leave you Google reviews, make sure that you interact with them by replying to any comments, good or bad, to help improve your reputation within Google. Also, creating proof is really important too. So, for example, creating case studies and sharing results, sharing user-generated content. So, if you've started out, somebody's used your product or service, they've had a really good experience from it, ask them if they'd be willing to talk about that and give you a testimonial or a recommendation, or ask them if they're happy to share that on their social media, can they tag you? That's what I mean by user-generated content. So it's showing that you're trusted, you're reputable, and that you're being used by others. I would also recommend using all of the analytical data that you have access to. So when you set up your website, you will need to connect it to GA4, the Google Analytics platform. And this gives you so much detailed data on who is visiting your website, when, what pages are they going to the most, what's resonating with them the most. Also, within all of the social media platforms, there's really clever analytics that allow you to see when, the breakdown of your following, who's following you, what's their age, their gender, their location, and you can also see how much engagement you're getting, what type of posts are most popular. So, are people really enjoying your video content more than your graphic or your photo content? Do they like it when they see real people on your platform rather than just graphics? And then that will allow you to learn and refine what you're doing. So when you're planning your content for the next period, you can see, well, actually, we need to do more of this and less of that because we know what's worked and what hasn't. And then from a more sort of traditional point of view, if you have the opportunity to set up focus groups, either informally or formally, to establish what people think of your brand, that's always really helpful. Applying your learning regularly and reviewing your marketing direction is really important. And I would recommend reviewing everything at least on a quarterly basis, if not more frequently than that. And that allows you to kind of make the changes required so that your marketing remains successful. So then finally, sort of before we end, I wanted to just talk through some free tools that might be useful to somebody starting out their business from a kind of marketing perspective. So Google offer a number of different free tools. So I've mentioned the keyword planner, but we've also got Google Analytics, which I have touched on. This allows you to track behavior on your website and to see where traffic is coming from. It allows you to track the kind of bounce rate and the duration that the amount of time people stay on each page, how many pages they visit before they leave the website. It's very useful information and really allows you to refine what you're doing on your website. And there's also Google Business Profile. Now, Google Business Profile is the when you Google any business, so for example, a local restaurant, you will find on the right-hand side of page 1 of Google, there will be their Google Business Profile, which will tell you their opening hours, their location, their Google Map, any reviews or anything like that is all there on that right-hand column. But you can own that for your own business. You need to take ownership of your Google Business Profile and keep it updated with social content, with new images. Make sure all your opening times are up to date, all your contact details and things. And that's really good for your SEO as well. The Google Search Console, that allows you to give your website a bit of a health check and advises you on what you can do to improve it. So what are the kind of quick wins? Google Trends, this one allows you to search for specific keywords and see how that has performed over time, as well as helping you find kind of currently trending terms online. And then the Google Tag Manager, particularly if you're setting up an e-commerce website or where you're able to measure conversions through your website, the Google Tag Manager to accurately track those conversions. And then just some other free marketing tools that are worth taking a look at. You may already be familiar with some of these. Canva is a really useful graphic design platform. So the free version of it is really good and allows you to make kind of branded social media graphics. You can upload your logo and the colors that you use and the font that you use and things so that you can create very on-brand visuals. But there's you know, there's the capability within it to create newsletters, business cards, invitations, posters, flyers, whatever it might be that you're looking to design that's on brand. It has loads of different templates that you can use and then just download once you're happy with them. So that's a really useful tool. There is a pro version of it as well, which has a bit more functionality and lots more templates that you can use. But as a starter, the free version is really good. MailChimp then is another really useful platform for marketers. So it's an email marketing platform where you can email your database, your contacts. It allows you to track who has opened that email, how many times they've opened it and when. You can create automations through MailChimp as well. So, for example, follow-up emails can go out to people who didn't open the original email or who did open the original email, to people who have clicked on a certain element of that original email. You can set it up so that emails go out automatically to those specific subgroups depending on what action they took. And it's a really useful and quite easy to use platform. CapCut then is a video editing piece of software. So you can download the app to your phone, and then it helps you to create really nice looking videos for social media. So Reels for Instagram, for example, look great on CapCut. It just helps you to kind of edit and add different effects, add text to the video, and it helps you to create really professional looking videos. Then Meta for Business. So this is the kind of business side of Facebook and Instagram, where you can set up ad campaigns. You can also put your social media posts into Meta for Business and post directly to the platforms from there. So you can do them both at the same time, and it will help you to kind of resize the images for Instagram and Facebook. So the dimensions are slightly different. And then Hootsuite is another tool. The free version of it is really useful, especially if you've only got one brand but you have a presence on lots of different social media channels. It allows you to schedule your content across all of the platforms that you're operating, so that all your posts can go out either at the same time or they can go out at the time that is optimum for each of those platforms. So it's worth just having a look at those and you know, giving them a go and trying them out really, and kind of seeing what you can produce. So that kind of brings the presentation to a close. I'm wondering whether there are any questions from the team, from the group.
And if anyone's got any questions, please raise your hand and we'll answer them in turn. Gavin.
You're on mute, Gavin.
There we go. I thought so. I was asking you if I was on mute or not, and I'm glad you could read my lips. You obviously did. Jen, I've met you before. I don't know if you remember me, so I've met you.
Yeah, nice to see you, Gavin.
You too. So I'm actually, as you know, I've done a lot of PR work. So I'm actually setting up a little poetry business. So selling commissions and performances. So I've been kind of making gifts for a few years and selling them and just kind of losing money on it, but it's kind of built up. So I'm going to do some workshops as well. So I'm hoping that later this year I will start doing some workshops with the prison service. So it's going to be like a few different offerings, and yeah, you could hire me to go to like a party, so like a wedding party. I could write a beautiful poem for the bride and groom, or kind of just turn up to perform at the, like I do a 15-minute slot before the band start at the wedding party, or you could kind of put me in the corner and I'd have like 6 golden tickets and you send your guests over and I'd write a little poem about whoever. It's kind of like you get a caricature artist, I'd write a limerick about guests. So those are the types of services that I'm going to offer. So, you know, the stuff that you did with Fa La La, what was the timeline like for that?
So the marketing strategy would have been done over the course of a few weeks, I would say, in terms of gathering all that research, gathering all the contacts. What we tend to do as an agency is we would hold what we call an immersion session with the client. So that tends to be quite a long session where we understand everything about the business. We get a real chance to dig deep into what it is that they're trying to achieve. So that's the first part of it, really. And then, yeah, it can take a few weeks then to process all of that and get the strategy together and work out what are the right tactics to use. Okay,
that's lovely. So I've got one other question. I'm not sure if you want to discuss it on you, or perhaps you might want to email me afterwards, but I was just wondering what if you have a kind of minimum budget for marketing strategy. So my budget at the start is going to be quite small, like maybe in a few months' time I might have like £1,000. So I don't know if you've got a kind of minimum threshold. Again, I appreciate you might not want to discuss it now, you might want to email me afterwards, but I was just, for me, like whether I could work with you or not, it would just depend on your entry point, really. In terms of
no, I'm sure we could, Gavin. So maybe let's pick up on that separately.
Okay.
I'll ask whether my details can be sort of circulated afterwards, or are we connected on LinkedIn, Gavin? I think we might be. I'm on LinkedIn anyway.
Okay, I'll find you on LinkedIn. I'll just check. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds exciting.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gavin. Ruth?
Yeah, hi. So just a quick question. I really enjoyed the presentation, by the way, and it was really good to sort of catch up with the latest thinking on a lot of it. So thank you very much. You mentioned checking demographic audience information for the various media platforms. Is there an easy? You made it sound fairly easy, but you know, if you don't know where to start, nothing's ever easy, is there? So just wondering if you could sort of give us some pointers in terms of where we go for that kind of information.
I mean, literally, if you just Google, you know, Facebook demographics 2024, you'll see it come up, or whichever platform it might be that you're looking to target, and you can see how it's changed over time as well. Like Facebook's a really interesting one in that respect, because the audience profile on Facebook has changed hugely over the last sort of 10-15 years, where you know, it used to be that everybody was on Facebook, but now we're finding the younger generation don't touch Facebook. They're much more on TikTok, sometimes on Instagram, but yeah, there's been a shift. So yes, it's if you just Google it, really, in terms of whichever platform it is that you're looking for, you'll find the information.
I was wondering if there was almost like a, you know, compare the social media.com type of thing you could go to.
Yeah, compare them,
which kind of ones meet your, you know, if you know who your audiences are, or you think your audiences are, but you're not necessarily very social media savvy, then it, you know, that it would sort of direct you rather than look through each individually. Is there anything like that? Or
again, I think that somebody is bound to have compiled that. I don't think there is something official, but you'll probably find that on a few marketing platforms, like, for example, HubSpot. That's one where you might find that information as a bit of a comparison.
Yeah, that's great. That's all I was wondering, really, because, you know, I think the danger is you think you know what your audiences are using, but like you said, some platforms like Facebook have changed so much, haven't they? I got a 16-year-old daughter. Exactly. She you know, she goes on Facebook when I tell her I've posted something she needs to look at. Do you know what I mean? That's the time she ever goes on there. So it's just understanding that, isn't it? That things are changing.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens with TikTok, won't it, if the Americans take it down or whatever, whether we would follow suit and what would take its place, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why you have to be as kind of agile as possible, and you have to regularly review your marketing strategy, because there are changes and there are, you know, there are different emerging platforms that can sometimes kind of rise in popularity from nowhere, and so yeah, it's always worth sort of keeping on top of what's happening in the marketing industry. So yeah.
Thank you again. I thought it was really useful. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ruth.
Are there any other questions for Jenny?
I just want to dive back in just to say, I didn't say thank you. Again, thank you. This has been so interesting. So I work in PR, but I haven't done so much the marketing that Jen is talking about. And yeah, thank you. This has been really interesting and really helpful. And Dewi, thank you very much for organising it. I'm going to mute myself again now, but I just want to say that before we end.
Thanks,
My
Gavin.
pleasure. So if there are no more questions for Jenny, I will just give a brief rundown of the funding support that Business Swansea can provide to yourselves, either as people who are looking to start up a business or who have recently started a business. So if you're looking to start up your business, we have our pre-start fund, which is up to £10,000 of funding. The first £1,000 is match funded at 95%. So you would only put £50 of your own money towards that. From 1,000 to 10,000, it is match funded at 50%. So you would contribute half of the costs. And it can cover items such as computer equipment, software, marketing in this particular case, any equipment that you needed to set up your business, training costs, website costs, and so forth. The criteria is that you cannot have already registered with Companies House or with HMRC. If you have done, then as long as you are not trading, you can use your business insurance as your evidence that you have set up your business. So once you have applied, assuming that you are able to provide all the information that we need, then it would be somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks from application to a decision being made. Obviously, if we need more information from you, it would take longer. So we recommend that when we reach out to you to ask for that information, please have it to hand immediately and get back to us, and that will avoid any delays. On the application form is all of the information that you would need when filling in the form, and it includes a checklist of information that we need as well. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We want to help. We want to be able to spend the money. So that that again will cut down on any delays. Once you have been approved, you then have 1 month to purchase the items and then make a claim from us for those costs. So you pay up front and you claim the monies back from us. If you have already been trading, so you've set up your company, you've made your first sale or your first customer, and you've been doing so for less than 2 years or 24 months, we do also do our UK Steel Enterprise Grant. And this, I believe, is up to £1,000, and it is at 50% match funding as well. And it covers the same sorts of costs and items as our pre-start grant. So computer equipment, marketing, website costs, general business hardware, depending on what your business is. Just to note, both grants do not cover stock and vehicles, so you can't use it to do to purchase a van or a car. You can use it to purchase a trailer, so it can have wheels, but it can't be under its own power, and you can only apply for one of them. So if you are not yet trading, not yet operationally trading, you can do our pre-start grant. If you have been trading, you can do our UK Steel Enterprise grant. And both applications can be requested either from myself or through our Business Wales email that you've received these notifications from, or our startup grant email address, and I'll put that in the chat as well. So those are the two grants that we have for pre-start. So we do have additional grants if you have been trading for more than 6 months. But if you want more information about that, you can go on to our Business Swansea website on the council's Business Swansea page on the council's website, or reach out to myself or one of my colleagues. So for this session and all of our sessions, you can watch them all on our Business Swansea YouTube channel, the link of which is in the chat. If you want to be kept up to date on upcoming events, such as additional Startup Enterprise Club events, any business support news, any information about the funding streams, including the ones that I mentioned today, you can sign up to our Business Swansea e-newsletter, which is circulated on a fortnightly basis, and the link to that is also in chat. And to register for all of our upcoming events, whether it's Startup Enterprise Club, we do carbon reduction training, we do power hours as well for more established businesses, or any general council or council funded business support events in Swansea. You can have a look at what's available on our Eventbrite page, which is also in the chat. So I'll be sending out the presentation from ReThink, our feedback forms for you to kindly fill in if you can, and all the relevant links in chat, and anything else that is pertinent this week. So thank you very much everyone for attending today, and have a fantastic afternoon.